Did you know teachers aren't humans? They're not allowed to show stress or age, have health problems, show fear, waste time, and most of all, fail. They're not even allowed to go to the bathroom. That's okay, because we're here to talk about how we're all just playing a role. And at 3 o'clock, we get to be us again. 40 years ago, two 8-year-old boys were bored out of their minds in school, and they vowed one day they would do something about it. They did it to honor their friends. They did it to honor their classmates. They did it for the love of learning. I'm Matt, and this is Rob, and 40 years later, we get our turn, but now we're playing teacher. She is. Look at that avatar.
Oh.
Look at that avatar. Wow.
Let me.
Welcome to. Yeah, take a look, Rob. Welcome to Playing Teacher. I'm Matt, and this is Rob, and this is an avatar of Janine Brugge. And
wait, okay.
Welcome everybody.
She's too good to go on camera.
Yes. She does not want to be on camera. This is actually even better. She took this in France.
Yeah.
15 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And anyway,
I have no comment.
I think she.
Thank you.
I think that this.
Thank you, Miss Avatar.
You know what?
I never changed my picture from
when we edit this together, Matt. Like for the video, I'm going to make sure that the viewer can see this. And if you're only listening, you will want to go to the YouTube to see what we're talking about, because I feel like this picture was chosen because it's a game. I feel like the game is guess what Brugge is doing.
Yes.
You only see her face, kind of like, but it's
that could be a separate. That could actually be a separate podcast.
It's like an action shot, like she's jump roping, I
don't know. She's doing something because her hair is kind of whipping across her face.
Right. It's an unnatural hairstyle,
Herbie, you want to take a shot? Looks like she's definitely excited about something. Okay, thank you, Herbie. Thank you, Herbie. Yeah.
So I guess one thing we never really talked about is like when you're in a school, a lot of times you just all refer to each other by your last name. Like, so we just say Brugge, like that's her last name. But actually, but with us though, it's Matt and Rob. You know what I mean? So I guess, I don't know, the rules change.
I don't even call you Brugge. I call you Brug. I never call you Dean.
You shorten it, right?
Can I still call you Brug during the podcast?
Yeah, of course.
All right.
I'm dying right now.
Wait, you know what? Little trivia, Matt. Do you know what Brugge's maiden name is?
Of course I do. I've known her for a long time.
And her birthday?
Samsonite.
Oh my goodness.
It's you know what, Matt? It's funny because it's actually French.
I was way off. That's what
it's a French name.
It is
French name,
right?
Yes, it's.
So I wasn't even too far off with the French picture.
Yeah, when you said the French, that's why I asked.
Around. Oh, okay. Yeah. No, I didn't.
It's a Duguay. I think I said. Did I say that right? Duguay.
Yeah. It's Duguay. Yeah.
Duguay. That Duguay. Yeah. That's what I said. Right.
So it's kind of like Janine Duguay Brugge.
So when I was in high school, my photography teacher used to say, Janine Duguay. I love to say Janine Duguay. It's French Canadian, yes.
Cool.
Just out of curiosity, is your last name Brugge or is it like Bruges?
So my last name is actually it's Brugge, Brugge, Brugge.
Yeah.
But it was like Jeff's great grandfather that passed through Bruges, Belgium, and changed his name from Elias to Brugge.
Interesting. Okay.
Spelled it Brugge. So he actually just changed the name. It wasn't Bruges at all. Okay. It was Elias.
Oh,
and now where we say Brugge. Yeah.
Is that why Austin's middle name is Elias?
Yes. So all the boys in the family's middle name is Elias.
Mm.
Yeah.
Matt, are you blown away by my knowledge of her family history here?
Oh yeah, it's a lot more than I thought I knew her, and now I just know she likes Star Wars.
You know,
Man, what a sucky friend I am.
You know
I
nothing.
I don't know anything about her. I know she had
I
a French maiden
and
name.
her birthday is September 12th.
No, it
Well,
isn't.
No. It's September 17th.
It's September
Yeah.
17th. Wait,
It's
I
September.
have to say,
I
wait,
definitely
I have
knew
to
that.
say something. I am actually blown away by Rob knowing this much about my family.
I'm very impressed.
Because Rob, like your memory sometimes is just shit when it comes to this stuff. Like you're really knowledgeable in like other areas like nutrition or education, but when it comes to like I don't know,
Rob,
like I'm surprised. I'm
like
surprised.
Rob knows my weight, but he doesn't know when my birthday is.
Right.
He does know my birthday because it's like right by his.
Oh, man.
That's so funny. So yeah, so this picture was from so long ago, and then when Maddie told me, he's like, you should really like get a picture so we don't have a blank black screen when if this is up on YouTube. And so when I logged in, I didn't realize that I was hysterical because I'm like, oh my God, I never changed this picture. So
what's kind of funny though is like you see, I don't know how it's going to come out on the video, but my face big, Matt's face big, like a full, like he and I take up 1/4 of the screen. And then you have a box that takes up 1/4 of the screen, but your face is like an inch, like it's only in the rest of the box is black. And like you just see your little tiny head.
Maybe we can find a way to make the mouth move a little bit.
Yeah,
so
that would be great.
Maybe she just got like plastic surgery and she just can kind of move it like.
I thought about making a puppet of her and
Oh
having it in a separate window where
we can do that.
Where we just move the mouth when she's talking.
I can use Igor and put a wig on her.
Yeah, no,
So
separate.
I got a puppet.
Yeah, well, we need a separate one. It's got to be like on someone's phone or something. I don't know.
It's gonna be like
a dinosaur.
Beaker.
Yeah. All right, let's get serious, guys. Let's get serious.
Serious.
All right, serious.
The topic today is crazy to teach, or do you go crazy from teaching?
Ooh.
That's the topic.
Broogie should have a lot to say about this because she's a certified guidance. No,
right.
You don't call. She's not a guidance counselor.
She's a school counselor.
She's a school counselor.
That's right.
I'm sorry.
That's right. That's okay.
I said the wrong thing.
No,
yeah, because now you're going to make her go crazy, which goes along with the topic here.
Also,
now,
go
ahead, Rob.
No, it's really good. I want to hear from Broogie too, because we're talking, I want to hear a little bit from Broogie too at some point about she works with the kids. Her job is to work with the kids, but I think that she winds up like sitting down with teachers who come to her like as if she's their psychiatrist. You know what I mean? Like all the time. So like at some point I want to talk about that too. Okay, let's go.
And I hear all the people coming to me, and then I hear all the nonsense.
All the goss.
All the gossip.
Yeah.
Well, that probably has to wear you down after a while.
All the gossip. Yeah. I'm exhausted. But it's okay. I mean, it's fine. It's just funny because I sign up to help the kids and I'm there for the kids, but I end up, helping the adults also, which is fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's like, flames are burning all around me.
All right. Matt, do you want to kick us off with, I think you were about to say something before.
Well, I was just going to say that I'm crazy. So I think that's, but I was always crazy. Since I figured out I was crazy at like 5 years old. Now, when I say crazy, I'm being kind of silly, but I've actually have mental illness, I'm not making a joke out of it, but us crazy people do that, to deal with it. So I've always had, some type of mental illness it was almost, when I look back on it, it probably started from when I was 5. You know what I mean? It really didn't get diagnosed until I'm like my early 20s. Like, what the hell is wrong with me? But it does take a toll on you when you go into any profession. As a teacher, it definitely took a toll on me. But when I think back, I would kind of agree with Brugge that the hardest part for me, it was actually not working with the kids, because I always found as like being like a performer before being a teacher, being an actor helped. And that was always therapeutic for me. So working with the kids, especially in the right class where they're really responding to what I'm doing, was mentally, like therapeutic for me. But the stress of working with teachers, and did the different personalities all day, and they wouldn't come to me like they come to Broogie, but they would almost just come to me with things like, don't do this. He needs this. Bring this box back. I need this way. This is going on. Why are you 30 seconds late? Just different personality traits that you have to deal with. And then you have to turn around and you have a class you have to work with. Because I was always a cluster teacher.
Yeah.
And that's all day, because then you have another class. And it was really always mentally draining, certain personalities that I would have to work, I would work with.
Would it be?
But it's not, and they're not all like that. But those would be the one, because of my mental illness, that would kind of bring me down and weigh me down. And then you have to turn around and teach. I remember a teacher just getting mad at me one time because I was like 30 seconds late to the room, and she actually like screamed at me. I sort of made a joke out of it, and she's like, "Go teach." She like just went on, and then what it did to, and that was in front of the kids, and then the kids are looking at me like, "What the hell's wrong with that lady?" And then I would like bring them in, and I'm shaking, but I'm not just shaking like most people would just shake it off. But I really thought like all these things, and because of the OCD I have, it would just sit there and sit there and sit there, and then you have to go work, and that would bother me not for like that day, that would bother me for like months. I thought about it till now. You know what I mean? Like,
let me jump in for a second, Matt.
Yeah,
like, I just want to ask a question. I don't know if since we started this, I think you've gotten a little bit into some of the issues that you deal with on like, psycho-emotional level, like the stuff that you have going on, like with OCD and other, right? But would it be accurate? So no one likes to deal with toxic personalities, obviously, but I think knowing you and having us both been in the same environment, I think it would be accurate to say that someone who has the kinds of things that you have going on, right?
Yeah.
Can find it debilitating to have to deal with certain types of toxic personalities, like what you're describing now becomes debilitating, right? I mean, like it
does, but you don't. I've learned from being a very young, like a young kid, to hide it.
Yeah.
So I call it suffering in silence. So I'm not like you. If you see me at work or anywhere else, like whatever I'm doing, you don't know I'm like fucked up. Like I keep it in here. Like you know what I mean. It just kind of sits there, and then it'll come out. And I'll at home, I'll go hit the boxing bag. There's a lot of tools you have. I'll take my dog for a walk.
And you were exposed to everybody. Like the both of you weren't just exposed to one grade. You were exposed to every single staff member in that building.
That's why. So you
have a unique. You two had a unique position similar to mine, where you knew every single staff member in that building. So right.
If you have like 100% of them, let's say 30% could be toxic, right? And if you happen to see Monday and Tuesday, those people all like after a while, and you have that all year, those days are going to suck. I would almost want to take off certain days, not because of the kids, because I can't deal with that personality.
Well, it's mental health day, right? That's like the,
right.
Mental
health day.
I know. But it's tough. It's a tough thing to navigate that as guy who has mental health problems.
Yeah, like we're not making, we're not saying anything horrible about mental illness. Like it's a real thing. Like when we talk about this topic, it's just that, working in a school can make you a little bit more stressed, right? Like it's just like you are working back to back to back, and then dealing, like you said, with all these different personalities, and just increases your stress level. On top of teaching kids, having to teach children.
Well, imagine too, a person coming in like new. So for example, like I was at the school since it opened, right? So like every single person who ever came to the school is like coming into a school where I was already situated, if that makes sense, right? So like it's, you know what I mean? So I'm pre-established, I guess I can say. But someone who's coming in and this, and I would never want to be this person. And like Matt, you were this person at some point. Briggy, you too. Like I would never want to
It's
come
brutal.
into
It's very hard.
yeah, a pre-established school where like all the relationships are formed and you're trying to like wedge yourself in. You're trying to find, where your place is or whatever, so it's
Well,
like, because everything is, yeah.
I tried to do that when I came in, and it was like I did not fit in at all. And then the best thing that I did was stay away. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? And just be
Well,
by myself for like a
imagine
year.
you
That's
didn't
how.
have me in there. Like imagine.
Well, I was like the guy behind, hiding behind the rock, and I would just be like, watching wrestling and like, you know what I mean? And like, having lunch in this back room of the lab. And then I would just peek out every once in a while, like, oh, like, hey, what's it like? What's going on out there? And you tell me, because I didn't socialize. I tried socializing. I didn't fit in, I'm an awkward guy. You know what I mean? I think I was a little bit older than most of the teachers. Or there were people like older than me who was going to retire. Like I got along with like people that were like ready to retire. They're like mother figures to me,
Yeah,
like,
what's really funny is that like we were the oldest, but we were 30 years old.
right.
We were like
Coming
one of the
in.
oldest, right? We were one of the oldest staff members. Everybody else was much younger than us, right? For the
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
part.
Matt,
Yeah.
did you ever work at 88?
Yeah, I subbed there.
Okay. And
And I actually I was almost going to get hired there. I interviewed and was told before we came together that I met with the principal and had an interview, and when they were going to reshuffle, they were going to bring me in. So I was told I was going to have a job, and then a week later I went to where we ended up, So, but I would have been, yeah, but I was regularly subbing there for a while.
I
Yeah.
only asked because I would refer to that. That's when Neil and I started. I would refer to that
Yeah.
as like an old school where like the majority of the staff members when we started had been there for a long time. Like so you would have
Right.
many teachers who were 20 plus years, as opposed to like, started in 2003 and everyone was like 20,
Right.
like 5 or under.
20. Yeah. And when I first started, right, I was 30 years old and I was one of the oldest staff members. I couldn't believe it.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe that
Right.
I was one of the oldest.
Brugge,
I actually was, oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, you go.
So I remember when I came into the building and, everybody was really nice, but like you guys said, like people already had like established cliques, right? Because they've known each other for a certain amount of years. So I definitely felt like it was harder, right, for the first couple of months. But I'll never forget, there was this one teacher, I'm not going to name any names, but I remember it was like my first real situation in a school where I was like, whoa, what is going on? So I remember I was in the hallway and this teacher approached, and she was always very loud and whatever, like, like a little quirky, I guess you could say. And she was missing one eyebrow. And I can remember like thinking to myself, like, why the hell does she have one? Like, what is going on? So I said to her, I go, name, are you okay? Like, like what's going on? Are you okay? And she's like, oh, I shaved my eyebrow this morning. I started plucking. I couldn't take it. And then that's
a sign actually that is a sign of mental, people do pull out hair and, shave heads and stuff. But why did she shave only one? Why didn't she shave the other one?
So then fast forward like a couple of periods, I saw her again and she took a fucking Sharpie marker and drew in an eyebrow on her. Like, so she had one eyebrow that was real and one eyebrow that was a black Sharpie marker.
Was it the thick Sharpie or the thin Sharpie? Because there's different one. Or the fine, the fine
flat
point,
tip, or
the fine point.
I just like, it was like, where the fuck am I? What school is this?
Wait, so Matt, let me ask Matt and Briggy. Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure I know.
Yeah, I know
just by the description. I don't even know if I remember this story, but which you would think I would. But that tells you how many crazy stories there are. But I think I can imagine who this is. But
Yeah, I
So,
know it is.
so
Yeah.
was this person like that before starting teaching or as a result of teaching?
I don't
I can,
like,
I can,
honestly, I have
I
no
can,
idea.
I can
I don't
answer
know.
some of that.
Okay.
Just, like when you start, you talk to everybody at different times,
Yeah.
and I could say that, you know, I'm not the only one. I could say it like this. I'm not the only one who has mental health problems, in
Mm-hmm.
their life and different things, So I can say that. So yeah, obviously there was, I don't think it was just inherited from the job, but and I'm almost positive of that, but I will say that if you have these things and you don't find a way to deal with it in a job, especially if you're working with students that are very, very challenging, and his teacher was, over time, that will take a toll on
Mm,
the already draining mental health problems
make
that
it
you have.
worse.
Definitely make it worse until,
Definitely. Yes,
you know, you know,
absolutely.
and then, eventually you have to think if you're even right for the profession. Some people, realize, maybe you walk away for a while, if this is too much for you, because your health is the most important thing.
Well, I think that's like the important message, right? So,
Yeah.
as someone who never worked in a school before and then all of a sudden entering this profession, I wasn't prepared for that. Like I wasn't prepared that people aren't really taking care of themselves. It's like this really affects people who have mental illness prior
That
to
that
becoming
that brings me
teachers.
back to the point when you didn't see me come to work. Like with one eyebrow missing, because the kids, like every little thing, especially as like the male teacher, and Rob, you could probably attest to that.
Mm-hmm.
Like there was like two of us, so we stand out when we had every kid in the schools. We had 800 kids, depending on what year, and they know you so well. If you change one thing about yourself, like, where's your mustache? They know
Mm-hmm.
everything. So if I imagine I walked in, I had one eyebrow, they'd be staring at me like, and they wouldn't care about anything I do. And like the whole day would be about, when is it growing back? That would be about that. But I think I had to always be mindful also of how I look on the outside, because I was struggling on the inside. And then it's almost like my little secret. I wouldn't want to let people know about it.
Right.
I'm trying to think.
I don't think I did that great a job, because I think people
Uh-oh,
probably
Matt's having a thing today.
Matt's yeah, he took off his socks again.
Oh,
If you don't know what I'm talking about, they threw me. The worst thing you could do for a crazy guy is like to trap them, right? So like when one of the years, like, when we went through an administration change, they they took away, like, I think my classroom, and they just gave me like an office, right? But they put me in an office with another veteran teacher, and we were both like, so they just kind of threw us together. And this teacher's like, "Oh, this is not going to work. I got so much stuff and everything." And I was just like, "Oh, this is great. We get to be chummy, and, like, we'll hang out and everything." And I just, and I was just like making myself comfortable as I made that side for you and my side's there. And then I'm like, "All right, so just, I do push-ups in the middle of the day." And then, if sometimes my feet get sweaty, so I change my socks like once or twice, which I do. I like to have, that's the thing. I like my feet not to be wet. So my socks would be off,
oh my
and
God.
then I'm doing push-ups. And then I remember the principal coming over and like said to her, this was like after a month. And so, like, "How's it going? You guys been?" And she just looked at me, and she's just like, "He needs to stretch out." She moved out so fast and went to be with another teacher, gave me the
Oh
whole
man.
spiel, and no
He
one ever
needs to
wanted to be.
stretch out.
No
Yeah.
one wanted to be with me after that. You know what I mean? Like, they just left me
Oh,
alone
no.
in a corner, or they gave me a room, and I was like, those words just echoed. Like, just leave him alone.
Oh, that's so funny.
He needs to stretch out.
He needs to stretch out.
You should make a t-shirt that says that.
Yeah.
That's good.
She's like, "Oh, you want me to go?" You're like, "No, no, you stay. I'll go." Just in case I didn't leave.
Principal's like, where would you like me to move you? Anywhere.
He's like, "I'll go. I know where I can go." She just found her own space. I'm good. I'm like,
Uh,
Brooke, you remember when I didn't have a space and I was like
Oh
circulating
yeah.
around the school and I almost ended up in your closet
I mean,
because I was
you were like measuring. You were like the guy from the movie Office Space with
stay
like
this
the
with the stapler.
stapler.
I think that's my stapler.
Stapler.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's my stapler. Yeah,
Well,
you were that guy.
this was our first administrator and she came to me like I had and the actual words were I don't think I have a space for you next year. But I was like so my first wait, I don't have a job. No, you have a job. I just don't have a space for you. I didn't even know what that meant. But then
No,
she's like,
what's
but
really crazy is that you guys, we were fighting for space, right? We had two buildings. We were fighting for space. Teachers were
Mm-hmm.
fighting for space. Now the cla
yeah.
classrooms are empty, empty.
Well, entire
It's
classrooms. Yeah.
entire classrooms.
But yeah, but she
But,
actually said to me though that you can go find your own space. Like meaning it
right.
was like it's on me. So
Yeah.
so then I took that and I was like, okay,
Yeah.
I was like the yes guy. So I just thought like, okay, I'm gonna circulate the school and look in every room and find a space for myself. So I'm like a nut. I'm walking around the school and looking in closets and bathroom closets and the custodians are. And then I'm in Brugge's like office and there's like a side storage room, a little room. And I'm like moving things. She's like, "What are you doing?" She's like, can I stay here?"
And then
Just
I
for
brought
perspective, I can't imagine this room was more than like 4 feet by 4 feet.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
smallest effing
And it
room.
had
It's so tiny.
bookcases in it.
Bookcases, and I was just like
File
gonna put a
cabinets.
chair down and like a little like
Yeah.
table.
Yeah, like it would have been a
And I'll
single
be like,
chair.
I'll just be
Yeah, but instead you ended up in like the kiln. What is that called? The kiln? Kiln? What's the art room with
yeah,
the?
yeah,
Yeah,
the
you
back
ended up
room of yeah, I think the back room of the art room they
Were
right.
gave me.
were
No
those ever used?
windows.
There was two massive kilns in their own room with a plug that was the size of like a king
Yeah.
cobra. And it
Who
was like,
knows?
and I don't think they were ever used. Not one
No,
time.
No,
no.
I don't know. No.
I remember
I
my
I didn't use it when I
mom,
had art.
mom
I
and
didn't
dad
even
were
turn it
throwing
on.
out. My mom and dad were throwing out a desk from like the 1950s. I actually still have it in my office, and I
Yeah.
brought it in for you, Matt.
Yeah, but didn't Matt wind up
Yes.
with us though? I
Yeah,
thought
No,
we
we
no,
took
did
that.
no.
eventually.
You guys did like the notebook thing. It was like very romantic. It was beautiful. You and Neil set up a space for me, and like in the back, you like cleared it. If you didn't see the notebook, she like always wanted to be an artist, and she wanted to paint. And then she was leaving her fiance, and for a long lost love, and he made this beautiful. She always dreamed of this special house and space to paint in, and he made this beautiful back room for her with all her special paints and everything like that. So I was like sort of defeated and like it's going around the school. I can't be in Brugge's closet. That won't work out. And I was like, I don't have a space. I don't know. I don't know. I'm gonna be on the roof. I don't know where they're gonna throw me. And then like. I go into the science lab and you and Neil like you cleared a whole area for me and you had the desk set up in the back and it was like all nice and you had my things ready and you cleared out like a drawer in the back room where I could put my stuff and I was like it meant a lot
It was back
but
by the window.
That's true
yeah, it's back by the
friendship
window.
right there. That is
No, it
true friendship.
was. I really appreciate it. I didn't end up staying there because they gave me a room, but I did appreciate that you guys were looking out for me. I really didn't know where I was gonna go. I was like, I didn't know what that meant. We don't have a space for you, but you're still here. So like,
That
where do I go?
that side room on the side of the science room, like the storage room, got so much like there was so many like we played like remember we played Nerf basketball in there all the time?
Yeah, we
Or
did.
Okay, you got to make the shot kneeling down from 20 feet away, and you got to throw, like we had the Nerf thing on the door.
Because
See,
the
so
ceilings
like
weren't very
Yeah.
high, so we can throw it across.
Yes.
Like the
Yep.
crazy. I mean, we would just come up with the most amazing,
Yep.
challenge.
It was like
challenge
horse,
shots.
basically. Yeah.
Yeah.
see, so like what you're saying, right? So the relationships that you build in a school building or wherever
Oh,
you're
yeah.
working in education, like that's the most important. So like this topic
brings
that
you
we're
up. Yep.
talking about, right?
Right.
Like what really makes you not go into a spiral with your anxiety or madness or whatever, or exacerbate your mental illness symptoms. Like that's so important to like make those relationships and connections with people. Like the fact that you guys are playing ping pong or Nerf ball, like that's so important.
Oh my God, 100%. You know, a nice way to spin it back to what we were actually talking about, Brooke. You know, but it's
Yeah.
true. You know, like because we were just going to talk about
Nice way to
No
get us
all day.
back on
no
the
sweat.
get
We
us
did have
back
it.
into the territory that we started
Right.
in. Now that we are in Antarctica.
We
We
digress.
did
It's
No, but it's also like sharing, like, so the ability to have the relationships is one thing, but then also being able to look at someone, know that they're going through the same thing you are with like the kids, like that, like they're in the same jungle as you are basically. And like, it's almost like a nod, right? Like you can swap stories with someone and it's like, you know, they get exactly what you're talking about. Whereas if you talk to someone who's not in a school or a teacher, like they might not really get it. You know what I mean? So,
Right. Yeah. Yes.
I think being aware of these things also, you know, just being aware of mental health in general, probably definitely makes you a better teacher just to be aware of students' mental health. You know what I mean? You know, I've always picked up on students who have some of the same things that I have. You know,
yeah, yeah.
it's interesting, you know, like, and you know, they might, you know, when you're a kid, because I went through it and no one knows what the hell's going on, I'll just catch certain mental um, disabilities that students might have with OCD or this or that, that might not even be recognized. But the way I might have, you know, treated it might be a little bit different, you know, because I've, you know, been in therapy and I know what to say and what not to say to help. So you know, you can help that student to get through certain things. That only helps you as a team, besides the training they send you to, you know, for crisis intervention, those kind of things. That I have a sort of, you know, strange amount of odd, you know, trainings and then connected to my own things would make me, when I would actually work with students, you know, in special education or things like that, it would just be, it would make me very aware of certain things and not to ignore it because a lot of people do and they don't understand or they miss, you know, handle it or mistreat how you actually should do that. But it's definitely something that shouldn't be like glossed over, mental health, you know, with kids or with teachers. But definitely
Yeah.
with teachers, it's not addressed. And I think that's probably one of the biggest issues. What I found is it's almost seen as a weakness and nobody really goes there. There's not a lot of help. They give you just a hotline and things like that. And I think the best thing that teachers do is they check in with each other. But officially, no one really checks in
Right.
with that. And you don't want to admit it because then there's definitely something that I've noticed, you know, the longer you stay in the profession, it becomes seen as weakness if you're not mentally strong because
Right.
there's really no room for failure when you're working with kids. You have to be on your game.
Well, they
But
give you a like you said, they give you a number. They say, oh, you can call this if you're having any sort of like, you know, stress or whatever.
right.
But
Or if you lose someone, you
more
know, somebody might reach out and
right.
say, here, this is the number to call
But
for this and things like that. But
what
how
good is
much,
a number if like administration is on your back and
right?
you know, I remember this teacher, she to me, she I don't know what she was outside before she became a teacher, but she was a like to me a normal, competent, you know, teacher. And I'll never forget, like she had a target on her back, and
Yeah.
she was observed back to back to back to back. Like it was like a full week of like observations by all different administrators, and like that like that absolutely can drive someone to be, you know, I want to say like I don't know,
No,
just
you're
like
right. Yeah.
making them feel overwhelmed, stressed, anxiety provoking, whatever, like, you know.
It's an unnatural way. I can't speak about other professions and I won't, you know, but getting observed um, by administrators, especially if there's two or three coming to see you, when you have children there, especially elementary students, um, no matter how well prepared you are, it's a very stressful thing if you only have two of them a year in your whole job. That definitely adds to it, the pressure of that. And if you're someone who has a problem and you think so much about things and you have to get a handle of it, that can more or less drive you crazy, thinking about that, especially if everybody else went and you're waiting 3 months for it. And if you're one of the last people, that pressure, I always felt like I do my best teaching after I know they just left. And I would just be like, okay, at least they're not coming back for 2 or 3 months. And I wouldn't sit back and do nothing. I would actually just teach better, not having the pressure of somebody watching me and, then evaluating me on, all these different components and everything like that. That drives you insane. And then, everyone I spoke to feels the same way. No one likes it. Some
Right.
people, a few will be like, oh, it's nothing. But I was like, most people that I spoke to, the observation process when they're coming around, we're coming around. It's an unhealthy way to be, but that's the system that they're in, That's how it's done.
I know, like on Long Island, the teachers are told we're coming in this day, we're observing this day. Like it's not a feeling of like, it's very supportive, like from teachers that I'm sure there's teachers in the city also that feel this way. It's not just like, supportive wise, like people who leave. Oh, can you cut that out?
We'll cut it out. Don't worry.
People who leave, I've spoken to, and they've gone all over, right? Long Island or other places, and they're very happy with their leaders, like with their administration, and they don't feel like stressed or pressure,
Yeah.
I'm sure you guys have conversations with people who left again.
Oh, there she goes again.
There she goes again.
But, like, you know what I'm saying, though? Like,
yes.
You
Can we put on the avatar what numbers not to
say? Wait, Matt, we have to. I don't want to just cut. I want to have like we've talked about this. We need to have a particular sound. Yes, like whenever we have to bleep something out that Brookie says.
I'm like, wah, wah.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
Wah, wah. Can you do it on a keyboard?
I don't know how to hook up the sound to that. We tried. Like it wasn't working. I don't know. I mean, this is.
I mean, not like people will know, obviously, but I'm just saying that there's other schools out there that are fantastic, and they have a fantastic. Don't make teachers feel. Don't want to add the pressure onto teachers. They want to support teachers the best they can.
Yeah, I mean, don't even get me started on this.
I know.
So, So, because really, what I'm talking about is like that. This dynamic shouldn't even exist. Like this is not how schools should be structured. But we can't get into that today. We don't have enough time.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, it's a whole other issue. I mean, we have talked about we've touched on the observation process in other podcasts already, but
I do.
It does. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. You're talking.
No, I was going to say it does. If we're talking about anxiety, what goes, it's going to be something that has to connect because it's a big part of what a teacher goes through.
It lends to it, right? It lends to that pressure.
And Broogie, as a guidance I'm sorry, a school counselor, whatever you do, you don't get observed that way at all, right? Like nobody comes and watches you. They're not even allowed to do that.
No, So once I was observed early on by the superintendent, and she came in, and I remember thinking like, they can't come into my sessions, like these are supposed to be confidential. But I did a lesson with them. I pulled something out of my ass and I did a lesson, and I remember the feedback that I got.
That's a different kind of lesson. Yes.
Yeah.
And I remember the feedback I got from the superintendent was that it wasn't, did she say it wasn't rigorous?
Wait, I'm sorry. What does the superintendent know about being a school counselor?
And I'm dying because I'm like, I first of all, my lessons, I do lessons, but they're very loose because it's based on the discussions that we're having in the session, right? So like, I can't. It's not like, you need to do what? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
You're doing a lesson while you're counseling, because when you work with somebody, isn't it like it's not really a lesson. It's like a session almost,
Right.
right?
Well, they're called sessions, but you need to have some sort of plan, right? So like, for example, if I'm doing a session on like, I don't know, like coping skills, right? I need
Yeah.
to have tools that I can teach to the student on, what to use if you're angry, or, you feel like hitting another kid, what can you do instead, right? So
And they
like,
actually give
I
you a
have,
plan, like, yeah, and they actually
no,
give you
no,
like a set way how to do that. It doesn't
no,
come
no.
like,
No, no,
good.
no. I'm just saying, like, I personally you need to guide like every week
Right.
what you're doing with students, just like you need a lesson plan to teach. I guess, like, you
Well,
can't
well,
just
no, actually, Rob and I've talked about this. Like, when do you sort of put it down? You have a general plan and you sort of feel it sometimes, like take the pulse.
right.
I would not, but like as a counselor though, you must like have to put it down sometimes and just talk, right?
Absolutely. Yes,
Right.
absolutely.
So why would someone say
100%.
to you, like, then when you're doing that, it's not rigorous enough? Like,
Uh, Thank
was your
you, Matt.
session? No, I'm just wondering, was the session about being rigorous?
N- no.
Then it shouldn't have anything to do with being rigorous
what
at
was
that
your
time.
response? Did you just had to take it, right?
In my head, I flipped. I
Yeah.
was flipping out because I'm like, how dare someone who has no idea how to be a counselor tell
Mm-hmm.
me how to counsel my students? And like, I'm trained to do this. I don't need somebody. It's not about rigor. And
That's what I'm saying.
That was the buzzword of the year. I
of
remember.
the
That's what I'm saying. That
year.
yeah, they had this period where rigor was the word. So I was
Yeah, it
thinking,
was.
so then they're going to put it during counseling sessions as well.
And
It
it's
was
not that rigor
insane.
is a bad thing, but like it was, I don't know what fountain these words would come from every year, but there was always a new word. It was like Yellowstone Park, like a new word would pop out of the
Right,
geyser
pop
every
out.
year.
Yeah.
It's like rigor was one year, goals was another
And
year.
they
Goals,
would announce
Grit.
it at the
goals.
beginning of the year. Everybody, I want everybody to focus on ruthless aggression this year. That's the focus.
Oh my God. But I just
What are you going to do in
remember
Blind
your
like,
class?
fury.
Blind fury. Okay, dismiss. Go and do it. I mean, I'll come by in
It's
3 days.
like
All four of us will be in your room.
Rugi,
That's not blind fury.
I
it's
guarantee you, if you would have
so
asked this
frustrating.
person what that meant, like what it would mean for your session to be more rigorous, they wouldn't be able to answer. I guarantee you that.
Probably not. You're right.
Like, are you supposed to take a bat in the middle and smash the window? Show your emotions.
Oh,
That's all you got?
it drives me
That's all
crazy.
you got?
So like it was so I get it because okay, so I'm not observed. I was only observed that
Right.
one time.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
But
after my post, I was furious. So
Oh.
I can't even
Why, wait,
imagine.
why did you even get that though? Like if you're, why did you even have
She came to the school to observe teachers in this space, and I just happened to be in the hall, and the principal at the time was like, "Oh, this is Miss Brugi, our counselor," and she was like, "Oh, are you pulling kids? I'd like to see a lesson." And I'm like, "What the fuck?"
Hmm.
It was crazy.
and you
Yeah.
never had one again, ever?
I never had one again. Nope.
Wow. So
No.
yeah, no, I think you're just about to say, so you can understand what we've been through.
Well,
Like,
yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Just to like bring
yeah,
it back to what we're saying. Like, of course, like if you're being observed 4 times a year, and then in your post, you're being told by someone who has no idea the content that you're teaching, they've never taught it before, or like teachers are, don't even get me started. I'm like going crazy. Teachers are supposed to be the experts, right? Like this is a whole other topic. I'm on fire right now.
Wait, did you ever see?
think
Did you ever
so?
see the Netflix show? It's like about the sushi master, like Jiro, I think his name is, or something. Like it's a tiny little restaurant, and the patrons go only like 10 seats per night or something. They pay hundreds of dollars, and they sit there, and the guy does the sushi and just what they eat, whatever he gives them. You know what I mean? Like you don't even look at a menu, right? It's like it would be like going to like Japan and sitting down there and then like telling the guy that he's rolling sushi wrong. You know what I mean? No, no, no. I don't think you want to put that much wasabi on there. You know what I mean? Like, this sushi roll is not rigorous enough. It fell apart in my chopsticks. You know what I mean? It's unheard of in any other, in any other, I know, dynamic or context,
Yeah.
My favorite was always when.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
When I went for my administrative degree for building leader and district leader, I remember my professor basically saying, because I said to him, I said, well, I'm a counselor. What makes me like, would teachers actually listen to me as a leader? And he said, your teachers are the experts. You are assisting them with like support by supporting them, providing them with, I don't know, like to have them go out on trainings by other professionals that are in their content area. Like, you don't need to know everything that they're doing, and you need to just be there to support them. So like, but for some reason, so many administrators think they are the experts on everything. Like, for a superintendent to tell me that my lesson wasn't rigorous, like, had no idea what a counselor is really supposed to do. Like, it wasn't supportive. I don't know. Like, she shouldn't have even been there.
You know what I hate? When it goes outside the classroom and it almost gets personal. Like, like you're a master on other things besides this, but like, more about like, like working out or this, or, because, and you can't challenge it because, you don't want to, you don't want to upset the boss. So you sort of like go along with information, even if you know it's completely not accurate or anything like that. Well, that's great, and then you end up like, you sort of like end up hating yourself that you play the same game, that you kind of go into those conversations like, like kissing ass almost. And, even if you don't agree, you're just like, yeah, that's great. You're just waiting to get into the conversation, so you can, say like, oh, that's so great that you think that, even though it's 100% wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, I've heard stuff about like nutrition before. Like someone in a position of power hears something on the radio about nutrition, and then they're like spouting it out like they're prophesizing. Like, oh, I heard this from and it's like, just sitting there and absorbing it, like, and thinking you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like,
I think you put it best there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you can't, like, I can't.
You can't challenge it. No,
you're an idiot.
And then everyone's sort of sitting in the room, like, knowing, like, like, yeah, we're gonna all have those shakes tomorrow. Kind of, yeah. Probably sucks if you're the secretary, because then you really have to drink it. It's like, we can like just stop in and out of the office and keep moving, but if you're in the office there, that's got to be stressful to sort of go along with, whatever the administration's doing, because you're sort of stuck. It's not like you can come in and say, we're all going to do this week. No, you have to go along with whatever
I will
they want you to do.
I will never forget, back to observations really quick. I will never forget that there was a teacher who was being observed, and the administrator walked into her room and she hid in the closet. The teacher
I know
hid in
who
the
that
closet.
is. I know.
Wait.
I think we all know. But
wait,
I don't know if I don't know if I remember. I remember vaguely this story. Again, the fact that I don't remember it in detail shows you how many crazy stories there are. But you're gonna have to, not now, but remind me who it was after the show.
But I could give you the backstory that this person almost felt like a little bit not appreciated for a while, so it was building. You know what I mean? It was building, and didn't really find their footing. And I remember speaking to this teacher, and I got along, I tried to get along with everybody, you know what I mean? And I guess I had the personality, until later on, where I felt like people just get pissed at me for, like my, crazy act of teaching, or they're having too much fun, or this is not structured enough, or, you know what I mean? You're making the kids too wild. shit like that. But in general, I think where my strength was, I got along with everybody. I try to appease everyone's personality. So this person I did get along with, and I could see the tough crowd she had, why they would sort of get along because it wasn't clear. And I was trying to find the strength in what she had as a teacher, and I'm sure it was there, right? But she did start to say to me that it was a race issue that she felt like, and like they didn't appreciate her because of her race. And it was interesting. So that was one thing I do remember, because then a little while later she had the infamous observation that Brugge's talking about. And I do know from the Para was there that she first fumbled some papers at her desk. And this is this is basically the beginning of the nervous breakdown. And the papers like were ruffling. It's like she was trying to find her lesson plan. And she kind of slowly walked over, and at a certain point, she just went right into the closet and hid.
Do I know this person? Like, was I there at this time?
Yes.
I think you do. I don't know.
Really?
This person like wouldn't stand out as someone you would know. But yeah, this is one of the saddest things that I
it is sad. This is very sad, actually.
No, it is. And as somebody who's been close to that, or some, like me, getting to that point, but keeping it inside with the pressure, that's what I'm fighting against, and what I fought against for years, to not let that happen to me. You know what I mean? And if you're going to close the door and go to another, go to an area. I actually told a friend at work, if you ever need a space to crack, go to my room and I'll leave, and I'll give you a corner, when you're going through a hard time, because I remember that person was, just because you don't want to do it in front of the kids, and you don't want to crack in front of the other people, because it's like high school,
but that's a perfect example, right? Like that's a perfect example of the pressure that we're under in schools, and how
not to show weakness,
right? Not to show weakness, but
mental
also
weakness.
Like she cracked, right?
Yeah,
she cracked,
that was it. That was it. She was gone. I think the end result is that she wasn't there too much longer after they got rid of her. So I think that was the last time we heard of her. So I don't know if they got her that day. That part I don't remember, but she was gone after that.
Yeah.
So they either talked to her later. I mean, I don't even know. Maybe they had the kids leave the room and then got her out of the closet. I don't know.
I mean, it's crazy because, like, Rob,
I didn't mean that as a joke. Get out of the closet. I actually meant get out of the closet.
Yeah.
How'd they get her out? No, seriously, how'd they get her out of there? I mean, they had to get the kids out probably out of the room. It's what you do when something's really wrong. And, because if a kid acts up, and starts throwing chairs or whatever, there's a whole thing. You get all the kids out. This is almost really serious because we don't know what the fuck's going on, I mean, and so, which is scary, because you have to then take care of her mental health,
Well, like Rob, you're teaching all these up and coming teachers, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so like, I would say to them, like, that they need to remember that taking care of themselves is very, just really important to take care of their mental health.
Well, that's what like when I go through this all the time, and some of them will probably wind up listening to this, but it's like, I could make the class that I'm teaching them really difficult, and with all these readings and getting into all this theory and everything. But at the end of the day, like, they've never taught before. They're juniors in college. I think about what I was doing when I was a junior in college,
right?
And then it's like, but they've committed to the profession. They know.
I know what I was doing when I was a junior.
We were, So and then but
that's another podcast.
Yeah, that's a whole other one. But instead, like, my approach is basically like saying, don't get hung up on all of that stuff. Exactly what you said. You need to like take care of yourself and like not make yourself crazy with all of these things that, not that they don't matter, but
I do have to say the generation, and this, again, I think that this could be another podcast, like talking about like multi-generational and like teaching in different generations. But the generations that are younger than us are a little bit more focused on their mental health than like we are, or the people that are older than us are.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, there's more knowledge, more information about it,
Yeah.
Well, it's less stigmatized.
I didn't get I grew up with this stuff, and I didn't get help, till I was, I don't know, maybe 21, 20, you know, and I had nights I couldn't sleep. You know, I just hid it. I hid it
Yeah.
from everybody. The
That's a
only,
fully
you know,
functioning adult, you know.
you know, the first person who really knew was like one of my like childhood friends as a teen, and I don't think we never even really talked about it. Like the only way he knew was he would just because I had this thing where I had to get like the exact answer because you know this
Yeah.
OCD has so many different forms. Everyone thinks it's just like you know like the stove and saying and checking things. You know, I had this thing where I had to get the exact answer of questions, and it's like my brain felt like it was gonna explode. It was like a light bulb that was always on in my head, and if I didn't get the exact word I was gonna go nuts. So I
Hmm.
would just, you know, when you hang out with your buddy, I was just asking him, what did you mean when you said this? And like, you know, and I would, that's like an obsessive, you know,
Yeah.
almost like a tick that you just keep going around and around. I'm just looking for the exact answer. Then, and eventually you just say, shut the fuck up already, you know, you know, and I was like, and
Yeah.
that worked, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
all right, all right, you know, but he didn't mean to me. I was like, all right, let's move on. What are we gonna do? All right, we're gonna go in there. All right, we're gonna go to the comic book store. Fine, you know, and that's I'm not saying that's what you do for OCD, but you know, that's the first form
Yeah.
of somebody really getting frustrated because I would keep going back, you know.
Hmm.
And then like, you know, even my mother didn't really catch on to it. She would just say, you know, like, Mom, you know, what is this? You know, and she would just say like, you know, that's nothing. You know what I mean? Like, and I'm like, you know, and it would, you know, they didn't really know. The only thing that they did was I had a twitch and I twitched a lot, you know.
Mm.
So when, like I said, I learned to control that. But as a kid, they take you to the pediatrician and they try to figure it out. But they just said I was nervous. They didn't figure out what it was back then, you know, and you know, they didn't give me medication or anything like that back then. But like, um, I learned like just how to control it because I don't want to stand out, but it never really goes away. You just find ways to deal with it, unless you get to the point like that teacher where you can lose your job. You
Yeah.
crack up in a closet.
So
Yeah.
we are just about at time here. So let's hate to be the party pooper, but we have to wind it down. I've got another meeting right after this at 3. So
Okay.
this was a
Okay.
good one.
Sounds good.
All right. Thank you for tuning in to Plain Teacher with Matt and Rob and our colleague, Miss Broogie.
This
Our 1 inch by 1 inch avatar friend,
Very
Janine
exotic,
Brugy.
very exotic,
Hi.
Miss Broogie. Hey! Exotic.
Janine Brugine.
Yes, Janine
Janine,
Brugine.
Janine Brugine. Oh no,
Yes.
Janine.
That's what it looks like in the
Bouguet.
picture. Yeah.
That was a French teacher said Bouguet.
Bouguet. Bouguet.
Brugay, Brugay.
Bouguet. Bouguet.
Brugay, Brugay.
Bouguet.
Hyphenated.
Would you like to
Hyphenated.
would you like to bouguet bruguet?
So
Anyway,
I think this,
yeah. Okay.
I think this works out because Bouget gets out early on Thursday and Friday, so we can continue doing it this way.
Yeah, that's another story how she has these awesome hours.
Yeah,
We'll
yeah,
try to get
that's
into
a
that.
story for another
That's
day for sure.
So that's definitely another podcast.
All right,
Nobody
so
in the whole system gets out like at lunchtime.
Yeah. So signing out. This is Rob and Matt Bouget, playing teacher. Matt, you should do the outro. You have a better voice than I do.
I keep forgetting what the freaking thing that.
Oh yeah, we're gonna add it on.
Yeah, we'll add it on. We came
Okay.
up with an outro, and I don't know if I was gonna say. Yeah, we'll add. All right, we'll add it in somehow.
Okay, this is just us signing out.
And I don't
Bye.
know if I think you have a great voice too, Rob.
Thank you.